In the fall of 2003, a 21-year-old in Germany was poking around Valve's network, trying to find any information on the Half-Life sequel. He found a server account called Build. The password field was empty, so he logged in just like that. His name was Axel Gamble, and he managed to pull out the source code to the most anticipated game of the decade, more than a year before anyone was supposed to see it. This is the company you probably trust more than any other in games, the Steam company. This is one of 8 times Valve absolutely fumbled. A friend of Gamble's dumped the code online that October, and suddenly the unfinished guts of Half-Life 2 were floating around the internet for anyone to grab. Gabe Newell personally got onto forums and asked people to catch the guy, which is so crazy when you think about it. The game was already running late, and here's how it all ended. Gamby emailed Newell to say sorry, and then in the same email, he asked for a job. Gabe played along with that guy, pretended he was interested, set up a fake interview in the States, and gave the whole thing to the FBI. German police got to him first, 2 years probation, and the game shipped in November 2004, scored a 96, sold millions, still sits on the shortlist of the best shooters ever made. The leak didn't kill it, but it taught Valve something, to be a lot more careful with their security. Because while all that was playing out, Valve was already in a fight that mattered a lot more than one hacker. Its publisher was Sierra, owned by a French giant called the Vivendi, and in 2002, Valve sued them. Vivendi sued right back. The core of it, Valve wanted to sell Half-Life 2 itself through this strange new thing called Steam, and Vivendi was convinced Steam would torch their retail business. On top of that, Vivendi had been shoving Valve's games into cyber cafes across Asia without paying the royalties Valve said it was owed. But here's the thing, Valve was nearly broke. If this went sideways, there's no Steam, no Valve, none of it. Then it got strange. During discovery, Vivendi buried Valve in tens of millions of pages of documents, all of them in Korean, hoping Valve would just drown and give up. Except Valve happened to have an intern who was a native Korean speaker. He went digging and he found an email that wrecked Vivendi's whole case. The judge essentially handed Valve the facts. By 2005, it was settled. Vivendi gave up retail, signed over the cafe licenses, and walked. Valve was free to build Steam on its own terms. And after that, Steam pretty much became the big brother. So now Valve had the store. What it needed next was games. And in 2012, it had a plan for that, called Steam Greenlight. Beautiful idea on paper, let the crowd decide. Developers post their game, players upvote the ones they want, the winners get onto Steam. Democracy for video games. What actually showed up was a landfill, asset flips, games cobbled together entirely out of store-bought parts, joke submissions, straight-up scams, bots juicing the votes. There was a $100 fee just to submit, and it barely slowed anyone down. Valve asked the users to pace themselves, then seemed genuinely surprised when the internet behaved exactly like the internet. They pulled the plug in 2017 and swapped it for Steam Direct. Pay $100 a game, skip the voting, stop pretending the crowd would sort it out. Yo guys, thank you so much for all the support you've been showing lately. If you like the content that I make, please like the video, subscribe, and write something in the comments. I read all of them. And also I created a Telegram channel to connect with you guys. So if you want to go there, the link will be in the description. Alright, let's get back to it. April 2015, Valve and Bethesda decide modders should be able to charge money for their Skyrim mods. Sounds pretty fair, I guess. Modders do incredible work for free, but then there was a split. The modder, the person who actually built the thing, got 25%, Valve took 30%, Bethesda took 45%. There was a fishing mod going for $30. People started stealing other people's mods and reselling them. A petition against the whole thing hit 133,000 signatures. It lasted 4 days. Valve refunded everybody, pulled the feature, and admitted they didn't really understand what they were doing. That one fell apart fast. The next swing took a bit longer to hit the ground. In 2013, Valve announced that it will start doing the most 3 things at once: Steam OS, a free Linux operating system built for gaming, Steam machines, console-shaped PCs made by partners like Alienware and Zotac, and a controller with trackpad instead of thumbsticks, which was as weird as it sounds. Gabe Newell had called Windows 8 a catastrophe, and the whole plan was about getting out from under Microsoft. The hardware finally shipped in late 2015, 2 years after the hype peaked, and it landed in the worst possible spot, too fiddly to be a console because it was a PC and you had to babysit it like one. Not as good as a PC because in some tests, games ran close to 60% slower on SteamOS than on Windows. SteamOS honestly was a disaster, and since the partners had to actually turn a profit on the hardware, the thing cost about what a real gaming PC cost anyway, fewer than $500,000 sold in the first 7 months. Ars Technica called it dead on arrival. By 2018, the Steam machines disappeared from the store. To Valve's credit, they took those lessons and built the Steam Deck, which actually worked. And then, 10 years later, they announced Steam machines again. This time, they were building the box themselves. We'll see how it will go. Okay, this next one, 2016. If you played Team Fortress 2, you remember precisely where you were standing. July 2016, the Meet Your Match update. TF2 finally got proper competitive matchmaking, the thing that community had been begging for. But Valve also ripped out Quick Play, the simple button that just dropped you into a server, and replaced it with the stiff casual mode full of rank levels and long queue times. It threw you onto servers halfway across the planet at 200 ping. You couldn't choose the map, you couldn't kick a guy who was obviously cheating. It started tracking your kill-death ratio in a game that was never ever about that. The thing everybody actually loved, hopping in and goofing around on Dust Bowl for 3 hours with the same randoms, was just gone. TF2's Steam rating dropped from 96% to 72% in a matter of weeks. Valve posted an apology blog within hours of launch. They handed players the competitive feature that asked for and broke the casual game everyone showed up for. Hold on to this one. It comes back. From a game people loved to a game almost nobody touched. Number 7. In 2018, Valve put out Artifact, a card game set in the Dota universe, designed by Richard Garfield, as in the man who invented Magic the Gathering. On paper, a dream lineup. Then came the money. You paid $20 just to own it. The cards weren't something you earned by playing. You bought them, or you bought them off other players on the Steam marketplace, where a full set ran around $290, and some modes charge you a ticket just to enter. So you paid to get in, paid for the cards, then paid again to compete, all while Hearthstone sat right there for free. It peaked at 60,740 players right after launch. Within a few weeks, it was under 1,500. By December, it was done for, and 97% collapse and 95% gone inside 2 months. Valve spent years trying to revive it, rebuild the entire game, and then finally gave up and made it free in 2021. These days, a couple hundred people play it. The strange part is the actual game wasn't bad. People just would not keep paying a toll at every single door. Remember Team Fortress 2 from a minute ago? Valve broke the casual mode in 2016, then it mostly stopped showing up at all. For years, the game got almost nothing, and after TF2's source code leaked in 2012, yeah, Valve, again, cheaters built entire armies of aimbots, sniper bots that headshot you the second you left spawn, whole matches that were nothing but bots on both teams. The game became unplayable for long stretches, and Valve stayed quiet, went dark on the forums, didn't even post on the game's Twitter account for almost 2 years. Then, May 2022, the community hit its limit. A bunch of creators kicked off something called Save TF2, and it wasn't even angry posts. They just posted over and over about why they loved this game. It trended to number 2 in the world, over 250,000 tweets. And Valve actually broke the silence. TF2 community, we hear you. We love this game and know you do too. First thing they had posted there in nearly 2 years. A few small fixes came, then stalled. So in 2024, the community went again. And that summer, Valve finally did the real thing. They went straight at the people hosting the bots and mass banned the accounts running them. And when those guys appealed to get unbanned, Valve just told them no. Players logged in and for the first time in years saw 0 bots. A game from 2007, half abandoned twice, drowned in cheaters, written off more times than anyone could count. It still pulls 250,000 players on a good night. The company didn't save it. The people who refused to stop playing it did.